Hi, I'm Chris, one of the coaches with the ATB cycling program and also conveniently owner of Pedalhead Bicycle Works here in Edmonton. I'm wearing a toque during this video because it's actually about minus 15 degrees outside right now and currently snowing. But it won't be for long, so we want to make sure we get you ready for the first ATB cycling outdoor ride of the season. So we're going to go through some things in this video to make sure that you can have a look at your bike and make sure it's ready to go for that first ride of the season, so you're not panicked when you show up and realize that you're not actually ready to go. So to stop you from feeling unprepared and panicked on your first ride, we're going to go over some very basic things to make sure that your bike's ready to rip for the first ride of the season. We're going to start with checking your tire pressure. Your tires have lost air over the wintertime, and that's normal. Oftentimes in the shop, we hear of people coming in and wanting both their tubes and tires replaced purely because the tires have lost air over the winter. That's normal. You have a really small area, your road tire, filled with a lot of air, usually 100 to 120 PSI. That's gonna bleed out over the winter, especially if you haven't been riding indoors where you're keeping an eye on your tire pressure. So having your own pump with a tire gauge or having a tire gauge that you can use in addition to a pump is gonna help out a lot to make sure you've got accurate tire pressure. So in addition to talking about having the proper tire pressure to start the season off, which again is around 100 to 120 PSI in a road style tire and around 50 to 70 PSI in what I've got on my bike to start the season, which is a gravel or cyclocross tire, we're also going to talk about having a visual inspection of your tires. A tire like the knobby one on my bike, we want to make sure that we don't have any visual damage on the sidewalls or the top of the tires, like cuts or any strands of the tire hanging off the side where we're going to have a problem once we start riding. We're also going to look at a regular road tire like I've got in my other hand here, where we're looking for any kind of cuts that would happen in the top of the tire. Again, any sidewall damage that could cause problems, especially when you get those tires up to the proper PSI or pressure inside there. We want to have a visual so that we know our tires are in good shape and we don't have to worry about any problems once we get out on the road. Something that a lot of riders overlook, but it's incredibly important, is to make sure every ride that your wheels are properly tightened onto your bike. Whether that's quick release skewers or whether it's through axle, which I have on my bike here, you want to take a couple of seconds to make sure your wheels are properly fastened onto the bike. We're all rushing to get to the ride from work or wherever it is that you're coming from, and many of us put our bikes into the back of a car or a truck or on a rack where the wheels have to come off. We want to make sure there's no accidents, no problems, and no damage to your bike purely because you were in a rush and forgot to make sure that your wheels are tight. Accessories on your bike like your water bottle cage are easy to forget about, but can cause a number of different issues if not properly looked after and tightened onto the bike. We sure don't want to have you out on a warm ride on one of our Tuesday nights and have your water bottle fall off and now you don't have any water to ride with. But more importantly, we sure don't want this water bottle cage to fall off and get hit by another rider causing an accident. So whether you're running one water bottle cage like I've got on my bike here or both, it's a great practice to get into checking those bolts from time to time. Up on your handlebars, most of us have a GPS unit that's attached to either our handlebar or our stem to tell us how fast we're going and where we're going. It never hurts to have a look at how tight that is on your handlebar and also whether your GPS unit is actually connected to your bike properly. Again, we're coming from work, maybe we had our bike on a trainer inside the house. We want to make sure that when we're putting our GPS units back on, they're tight, we check them, that way they don't fall off and become damaged or cause an accident with another rider. We want to make sure that your seat bolts are tight because I've seen way too many saddles or seats loosen up as the first ride of the season goes down the road. So we want to make sure your seat is tight to your bike. The next thing that you want to check is the bolt on either side of your bike or the seat collar. Some might even have a quick release. That's going to make sure that your seat post is tight into the frame of your bike so that as we're riding, you're not having your seat migrate down, changing your seat height. Super inconvenient. We also want to make sure that we're taking time to tighten in the pedals and make sure that the crank is also tightened onto the bike. It only takes a couple of seconds and it's a great habit to get into so that again, where your weight is being carried on the bike is not going to loosen up during the season. Small pumps that we carry on our bike on brackets often have a tendency to fall off over rough ground. We want to make sure that your pump is firmly attached to the bike, and in some cases you may even want to put a wrap of electrical tape around the pump and the bracket or the frame where the pump sits. That way over our beautiful, smooth, not so smooth, Alberta roads, your pump is not going to rattle and fall off and catch under the wheels of another. Last but not least, you've got something underneath your seat normally, like a seat bag, a tube, something that may help you at the side of the road in case of an emergency repair. Make sure that your toolkit that's underneath your seat is properly attached to your seat or to your seat post, so that again, you don't lose an expensive toolkit or that you don't cause an accident by it falling off and going into someone else's wheel. All right, so we've gone over some basics on your bike, and to wrap things up, we're just going to mention that you want to make sure that your bike is clean, because a clean bike is a fast bike, and we want to make sure that you've got a little bit of lube on your chain. Wet lube for wet conditions outside like rain or wet roads, dry lube for those sunny, dry days where you don't need that heavy lube on your bike. Best thing that we can always say to make sure that you've got a good ride is to keep those tires pumped up, check all the nuts and bolts on your bike from time to time, and give a visual check on your bike before you head out onto the road so that we know that you're ready to ride safely and have a good time on your ATB ride.